One happy Ides of March 2019. How's it going? This is a payroll file for people who have a business in North Carolina and you'd like to figure out how to calculate North Carolina state tax and any other information about North Carolina. We're going to blow through it real quick. And if you have any questions or interested in purchasing one of these payroll files, I advertise them as the least expensive payroll solution on the internet. I know that because I sell these things for like 50 bucks and they're good for an entire year. And they're pretty awesome. I'm going to eventually raise my price. So I should stop saying that, but it's $50 right now. So let's talk about North Carolina payroll. First of all, what you need to know: unemployment in North Carolina, wage base is set at 24,300. We have that right here. We're going to talk about some information that you need to have in North Carolina. You need to have your employee fill out a NC4 to figure out how many allowances that they have in North Carolina, and you would put that right here. You also need to figure out what their North Carolina filing status is, because it has something to do with how much you're going to be able to withhold from their check and what kind of allowance or deduction they're going to get. Head of household is the only one that's a little bigger than all the other ones. So single, married, and surviving spouse all have the same amount of deduction amounts portion that's going to go in there. So just know that. You can put information like the state, the name, you can put the address and stuff over here as well. And then we can go over and start putting in hours for an employee. I already did that. This employee here has 40 regular hours, some overtime hours, some sick hours, right? That's fine. Once you do that, you're going to go over to the weekly data sheet. And here's where all the formulas are that have, there's a ton of formulas in this file. If you open everything up, you could see that there are just a tremendous amount of formulas here all over the place that are doing a ton of different things to calculate all the different taxes that you need. So we've done all that for you to make life easier. And we can just talk about North Carolina state tax and how it's calculated today. So those things that we entered in on the first sheet, the state exemptions and the North Carolina filing status, all appeared right here. And I'll show you how they get used in the formula. So there's a couple things you're going to need to figure out to calculate your North Carolina state tax. You'd think it would be pretty easy because all you really need is this 5.35% or 0.0535, 5.35% times whatever the North Carolina taxable wage base is. How do you figure out what that taxable wage base is? Well, this is a file that's working for weekly paychecks, so it's paying once a week. And the standard deduction amount for head of household or for others I was talking about before are either $288.46 for head of household or $192.31 for all the other ones. So I figured out which one that is by writing a little formula and looking and saying, hey, is this a person a single, or, are they a head of household person? You could see this change by going back here and changing this to head of household, for example. And then you'd see it would change to head of household here. Now, once it looks for that, it puts that amount here of what that portion of the standard deduction is. And then we also need to subtract some more stuff out from your potential gross wages or taxable gross wages that are going to be looked at for North Carolina that you're going to tax. It's $48.08 times the number of allowances or deductions, really, that they have for North Carolina, which is this number right here. That's the 2. You can change it over here by making it a 1 if it's supposed to be a 1, or if they have a bunch of kids, you make it 3, whatever it is. Are they married? Are they single? You can change these things here. You only want to change them once. They need to stay that way for the entire year unless something changes. But in general, that's going to stay the same the entire year. You're not going to change that. And when you do that, this formula here just adds that 48.08 times the number of allowances, adds it to this North Carolina portion of the standard deduction right there. And you're going to subtract all that from your gross wages. So we have gross, if you just look in this formula, what cells it's talking to, it's saying go to gross wages, which is hidden. I have it hidden in the middle there. Gross wages is the AP4 cell. and you're subtracting out, and there's some parentheses in here to make sure that you're adding these two things together before you subtract them from that big number, and that it's all wrapped up in parentheses, and you multiply it by 5.35%. And if it comes out to be less than zero, I have a little catch, or like an error catch in here in the state tax formula that says if this is less than zero, meaning there's no positive taxable wages because your deduction and your allowances are more than the wages for the period, which can happen, then you wouldn't tax anything at all because you'd have negative wages to tax. So that's how you do North Carolina state tax. This file kicks out all kinds of fun stuff and gives you an entire pay stub here. Shows you withhold $27 when this person made $838 in a week. That's what the tax would be. We have other reports here for your 941 report for the quarter, or if you just want to look at a specific period, you can do it this way. It's all kinds of fun ways to use these reports and just toggle everything subtotal for you. This is your North Carolina 3 that's going to show you your annual withholding amounts each month. That's that. Unemployment here, because you're going to have an unemployment rate that's going to need to be put here. That's going to be assigned from the state. So when you go back to the employee info master sheet and you get your unemployment rate, you're going to want to put whatever it is. Hopefully it's very low. This is a lot of wages to be taxed, so hopefully your unemployment rate is low. And then you also, if you have any workers' comp, you'd put a workers' comp rate there, which would multiply an amount times gross wages to get whatever workers' comp expense you might have. So that's the basics. There are also W-2s here. So you can just pick the employee's name, and all this whole thing auto-populates and kicks out all your W-2 numbers. And is there anything else in here? No, that's about it. So if you're interested in a file, let me know. Go to ken@kenbraverman.com. The payroll files will save you a lot of time, and they are not a headache at all. They make payroll easy. So enjoy.